During our stay in Lalibela, Ethiopia, we were honored with an invitation to visit the home of a local family. We met in their beautiful garden, where we had an opportunity to learn more about the day-to-day Ethiopian cultural activities. After we were seated on the comfortable garden benches, our hostess demonstrated how to cook injera bread, the national dish of Ethiopia, eaten at almost every meal.
Rapeseed, rapeseed oil.
Rapeseed oil.
Yeah, so just to smooth the pan.
Oh, like a pizza.
And she needs to sieve it and whatever. She needs to avoid all this.
Oh, it didn't cook very well.
Oh my gosh.
Then, under the watchful eye of our hostess, members of our tour group took turns demonstrating their Ethiopian culinary skills.
Oh, don't you look cute?
Oh, you're darling.
Oh, never looked better, right?
The first step was to prepare the large clay cooking plate, or mitad, by seasoning it with rapeseed oil. Then came the biggest challenge, pouring a thin layer of fermented injera batter onto the mitad from the outside inward, using only one gourd
So
of
you
batter.
have only the one that has been given to you with a gourd. So if you finish before, that's it. She will not give you anything additional.
Oh, yeah, you gotta get it.
So you got it. You need to make the.
You're eating that one. Mine's gonna have holes in it.
Yeah, I'll say. Yes, you may.
Who gets the cooking at your house?
I don't know.
So I don't make pancakes, I'll tell you
We
that.
can tell.
Needless to say, the results of cooking the large porous flatbread were mixed.
You need to get your little basket.
The woman does that, the man does that.
I do that at home.
But is it the way it's supposed to traditionally?
No, women. Traditionally women. So,
I'll switch, but I won't.
Not so successful, huh?
How is it? Yes.
Jim, the head chef in his own house, volunteered to cook the wat, a popular spicy stew.
Oh yes, make it more like a beret. That's very nice. I like that.
That better.
That's right, method. Onion, garlic, oil, sunflower oil, and salt. That's what we need.
Properly attired, he looked the part as he grasped the knife and set about chopping the onions and garlic.
The spirits.
Meanwhile, Jessica demonstrated considerable skill at pouring the batter, but proved to be a little heavy-handed before filling in the center.
What do you call it? White lightning. White lightning.
99%.
And
Laura.
In Ethiopia we call it also.
She's pretty good over here, Laura.
Lion's milk.
Wow.
Yeah! I think she's done this before. Oh, she ran out!
It's harder than it looks. I thought she said make a donut. What she did was put
A little white light.
First we'll try. So we'll drink to Catherine. This one or this one?
Oh, that's it.
What do they use as what grain do they use?
Sorghum, millet, hide.
Okay, good
While the cooks cooked, Emma taught us how to toast pate, an ancient Ethiopian wine made from fermented honey and a special kind of hops called gesha.
Yo. And the other, the crowd will say, yo.
Okay.
As Jim continued to chop red onions and smash the garlic, it was Jane's turn at the griddle. But first, a photo op with the hostess. Jane began by pouring on the outside of the matad, way outside,
You are fired. Fired.
Jane, what are you doing?
I have an explanation.
Okay.
I'm left-handed, and
You better.
I'm left-handed, and she insisted I do it with my right hand.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Bhagavatar, yes, please. Let me see. Yeah.
That's better. Okay.
Okay, that's better.
That's much better. Come on.
You're looking pretty good, Jane.
Smoke.
It's going to be a donut because
Yeah.
she's running out again.
No. That's it. Yeah. She will prepare 3 injera with it.
Okay.
That's it. It's the mother of all injera.
Yes.
Now,
Okay, and then you have to time it.
1.5 minutes.
Yeah, or 2. The lights are good.
Ooh, it's hot. It's the first pancake.
Now the stove really needs to get a cleaning.
Thank you.
Take a bow. When the kettle was ready, Jim added the onions and a few splashes of sunflower oil.
Enough.
After a few minutes of sautéing, he added water. While we waited for the pot to come to a boil, our hostess added frankincense and myrrh to the burner, adding to the overall sensory experience of the coffee ceremony. She then watched closely as Jim added the chickpea flour.
But no, that's the chickpea flour.
When do we put the garlic in?
Oh, but they put in.
Yeah.
With the chopping and smashing completed, the only thing left for Jim was to sit and stir.
Yes, sit and stir.
And what's the
That's in Madagascar.
As Jim stirred the wat, we moved into another part of the traditional coffee ceremony, the
So when
exchange
they
of
want to have
ideas and
coffee,
social
she'll
commentary.
just go out or send her children, come and just have a drink coffee with me. So it's a tradition. So once she has done it in the morning here, and in lunchtime, neighbors will call her also. But what they do is just when they go to these places, when they are calling each other, they will go with their cotton and just spinning. And just so they will talk about social issues, politics, about
neighbor's wife?
gossip. Yeah. So all the things it is, but always busy, always also busy doing something with their hand also. So they don't go idle in the place where they go. Consensual, which is when the man and women they say, okay, I accept you and I accept you, and that is consensual marriage.
When they get hit with a
Yes, exactly.
That's good. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the third one, which is still existing in the rural areas of Ethiopia, is abduction still. So that still exists. So we have all these kinds of.
They already have figured it out, though. So how about dowries?
Yes. Dowry is. It exists all over the country, but it varies how you settle the dowry. In the southern parts of Ethiopia, so when you settle the dowry, it will be between 12 to 30 cattle, one rifle, and one bag of honey, I would say. So just that is how you are asked just to settle your dowries. But because it's a big settlement as a dowry down in the southern part, so you can do it in installments. So you can do your dowry in 2 years, or in 3 years, or in 6 months. But unless you finish your settlement or your installment, you cannot take your wife back your home. So that's it. She stays in her family until you finish your until the payment is done. And I noticed that his goat is always active, and he couldn't normally say what makes it active. So then he started just to follow that goat, and it's always she gets active after she eats the coffee beans. Then he just took the coffee beans, which is also the coffee berries, and they just start just to share it with their house, and it was really make them nice, at the same time also awake also. So that is how the coffee started to be drink in Ethiopia, and it also just diffuses to the Arab world, but they start to drink coffee in a what you call it well mannered. Just that's why the coffee is called coffee arabica normally, but it originates from Ethiopia. So this is how.
We watched as our hostess washed the green coffee beans.
They're like that. They look like.
Are they green?
Yes.
Yes.
They're not roasted.
She then slow roasted them in a wok-like pan, constantly stirring them to ensure even
I would say
roasting.
they are.
Blonde, and some of them are dark. Blonde is
I would say
like
The beans soon reached a fragrant dark brown. The aroma of the roasted coffee is considered to be an important aspect of the ceremony. Rather than grinding the coffee beans, our hostess used the centuries-old process of crushing the roasted beans in a small, heavy wooden bowl called a mukicha, using a pestle or a blunt-end wooden cylinder.
Yeah.
She then added the coarse ground coffee to cold water in the jabina, a long-necked clay pot. When the coffee reached the boiling point, she removed the pot from the heat. She then poured the coffee into small handleless cups, along with a sprig of rue, an ancient aromatic herb used in food preparation and for medicinal purposes. Meanwhile, it was time for a second round of honey wine, this time mixed with spirits. Traditionally, snacks of roasted barley, peanuts, or popcorn accompany the coffee. Then it was time to add the garlic and salt to the stew, which continued to simmer while we washed up for the course to come. A final stir, and then the wat was ladled on top of the injera bread and served on a common round tray. Using our hands, we tore off a piece of the injera bread, scooped up the spicy stew, and enjoyed the bounty of our collective effort.
And when would they,
Finally, the coffee was served.
So if you want to flavor your coffee with a roux, you just can put.
Typically, the Ethiopian coffee ceremony lasts up to 3 hours. Due to scheduling, our ceremony was condensed to just under 2 hours. In the end, I felt that the deep-rooted tradition of the coffee ceremony was less about drinking coffee than it was about the ambiance, the socializing, the sensory immersion, and the experience of sharing your day with friends and family.